And now, first in Nigeria with AI News Anchors.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight. So Nigeria was missing from the recent U.S.-Africa summit hosted by President Donald Trump, and people are talking. With leaders from countries like Ghana, Senegal and Liberia all in the room, many are wondering, Trump wants to talk business with Africa in hopes of countering China. But the U.S. summit excluded Africa's big players. Why wasn't Nigeria invited? Was it a simple diplomatic decision, or is there more to the story? Let's take a closer look at what this could mean and what might be behind this exclusion. Joining me on the program tonight is former Nigerian ambassador to Burundi, Elijah Nyagwe. Ambassador, good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Good evening.
A very good evening to you. A very good evening to Nigeria.
Good evening to you.
Thanks for having me.
Right. So basically, one of the biggest worry for, let me say, concerned Nigerians has been the potential long-term impact of this exclusion on Nigeria's image and influence in U.S.-Africa relations. And according to analysts, the U.S. pivot is now toward trade, not aid partners, willing to help themselves, sidelining even large economies like our own country, South Africa, Ethiopia. So what does this mean? Does it even matter? Could this be the beginning of a new block of preferred partners for the U.S. and Africa?
Well, I'm just struggling to hear you very clearly. But clearly, if I understand your question, I'm assuming that you're talking about the reasons for the exclusion and what hitherto our response towards that should be. But clearly, this exclusion, the United States President, President Trump, invited 5 West African leaders, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal, for a meeting. And clearly, what that means is that my assessment is that he's actually looking at countries that are not pro-BRICS. You know, in the case of quite a couple of big countries in Africa, Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt. These big economies within the African continent appear to have some level of sympathy for the BRICS nation. So clearly for Trump, this, in my opinion, seems to be, selection of low-hanging fruits for him. Because it's clearly something that is deliberate. This choice is a very clear choice, and it's calculated attempt. It wasn't just an omission that was that you can look at and say that it was an oversight. It was a clear choice, and I think that this might also be connected with the BRICS alignment concerns, and clearly you can also analyze what's going on that scene as a shift towards transactional diplomacy. Trump hasn't really been someone that is very cooperative with multilateralism. He prefers to sit down and engage on one-on-one, at a bilateral level. And I think that he may have found, some of these African countries, West Africa in particular, as countries that may be easier for him to sit down and have a deal with. And, so that may be one of the reasons, But clearly, in summary, you can analyze it as, issues relating to geopolitical posturing. In that case, ties with BRICS. And a strategic pivot, pivoting away from the traditional diplomacy of, sitting down and, over the years, America has related with Africa by way of aid, sending aid to us. And that he has cancelled, and he feels that having a one-on-one meetings and deals on trade and other issues may be the best way forward for him. And clearly, it's also a signal of dissatisfaction with countries that are pro-BRICS. He has, tried to look at this from the point of view of anti-American. Any country that is aligned with BRICS seems to be anti-American. So that obviously is what I can analyze is posturing, or what has the overlook. If I have to summarize the overlook, and what has happened.
All right, Ambassador, but it looks like there are other reasons. Kindly hold on, sir. It looks like there are other reasons because listening to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, it says the U.S. is mounting considerable pressure on African countries to accept Venezuelans to be deported from the U.S., some straight out of prisons. And according to him, it will be difficult for Nigeria to accept Venezuelan prisoners. I mean, how do you interpret this? Does this even make sense?
Well, you know, at the international level, there are always undertones. There are always issues that happen that are not actually open to the public. Let them also work on this volume because I'm still struggling to hear you.
All right.
But clearly, there will always be concerns as to the reason why America has decided to do what they have done. But they've done it anyways. So I think the focus should now be what kind of response do you expect us to give? How do we react to this? There are quite a lot of options open to us at this particular point in time. And I can tell you that for all its worth, I do not think that we need to overreact as a nation on this issue. I believe that it is time for us to be very controlled and strategic in our response. I think it's something that requires us to also find a very, very subtle way of using diplomatic channels. If possible, back-channel diplomatic channels to be able to find out what the reason for exclusion is, engage better, be open, just keep the diplomatic bilateral channels open for us to be able to engage further. And I believe that once we don't get confrontational, we are likely to find a better way of, addressing these issues going forward. It has happened. There will always be pressure. I mean, America hasn't hidden whatever agenda it has for Africa. It's about America first. It's about, anybody that engages in any activity that is not pro-America gets punished in one way or the other. For us, we've been hit with sanctions on, granting non-immigrant visa. We've also, there's also a possibility of us facing tariffs as well, because he's made it very clear that countries that are pro-BRICS are likely to also have between 10 to 14% increase in tariffs on their goods that are coming into the United States of America. But I mean, these issues are there. It is left for us to sit down, get our acts together. Do not, run away from getting confrontational. Find ways and means of keeping that diplomatic channel open and engaging much more, at a level where we can actually sit down with the Department of State and find a way around these issues. All
right. In a minute, we'll talk about the nation's alignment with BRICS and whether or not this is good for us in all facets. But for now, what signals does this send to other African nations about how the U.S. under Trump intends to engage the continent, especially with some analysts saying this meeting reflects a move toward engaging self-starter African leaders, which you have also said. And I wonder what that means, Ambassador. Do you agree with that assessment?
Sorry, Lajumoke, could you please repeat? I didn't get your question, please.
All right. Okay, let me repeat myself. I said, what signals does this send to other African nations about how the U.S. under Trump intends to engage the continent? Did you get that?
No, are you talking about investors' confidence?
No. I'm talking about other African countries. How do you think, what signal does this send to other African nations about how the U.S. under Trump intends to engage the continent? And I ask this question because, some analysts say this meeting reflects a move towards engaging self-starter African leaders.
Okay, I'm still seriously struggling to hear you. But I hear you talk about African leaders and the engagement. Is that your talk? Is that what exactly you want me to talk about?
Ambassador, did you get my question?
Can you hear me? No, I didn't get your question. Please, could you please repeat?
All right, let's go on a short break so we can fix this connection issue. Thank you so much for staying with us.